The Shark Deck.
Happy National Donut Day. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Now, regular listeners know I hit the National Donut chain every day. Here's my large iced coffee that I'm almost done with. Well, today being National Donut Day, the Late Bot decided to make fun of me. These are pretty good. You ready from the Late Bot? I heard Johnny Mac celebrated National Donut Day by setting a new world record. He ate so many donuts that the local bakery had to take out a loan just to restock. Johnny Mac's love for donuts knows no bounds. He's the only person I know who orders a dozen donuts as an appetizer. They say Johnny Mac loves donuts so much that his blood type is actually powdered sugar. To commemorate National Donuts Day, Johnny Mac organized a marathon called The Run for Donuts. The catch, the finish line is at the nearest Krispy Kreme. I heard Johnny Mac celebrated National Donut Day by going out on a donut crawl across town. He claims he hit every donut shop. Let's be honest, he probably just stayed at the first one. To honor National Donut Day, Johnny Mac invented a new game called Pin the Sprinkles on the Donut. And finally, from the Late Bot, these are all good AI-generated jokes. You know, they say you are what you eat, and if that's true, Johnny Mac must be a giant walking, talking donut. Dana Carvey revealed why he would not let Robin Williams make an appearance in a church lady sketch. This from the Hollywood Reporter. Dana Carvey said this on his podcast. Dana said, Robin was a really good friend, and he really wanted to do church chat. This was in the early days. This was my golden ticket, and I was very careful. I thought if Robin got so excited, I was just afraid of it. Robin called Dana Carvey one Saturday morning asking to be on the church lady sketch. Carvey said no. It was heartbreaking, but we got past that and we were friends. But in those days, your character was very precious. I wanted to keep it quasi-real in a sense. The Hollywood Reporter had an actor roundtable, several comedians on it, one of them John Mulaney, and they said to John, your comedy historically has been about telling personal stories. This hour felt more confessional. You said it was fun. Was it also cathartic? Mulaney said, that was the challenge I wanted to give myself, to be vulnerable. What I wanted to see is, could I say this much about myself but still own the room and be an entertainer? That just seemed more of a challenge as opposed to more somberly or groundedly presenting the facts of what this special's about. John Mulaney said, I don't think people set out to be likable. I think they put themselves out there in some way, and speaking for myself, they enjoy the feedback that others relate to what they're saying or doing. It starts off with, oh, I must be onto something, or there's something about me these people get. I find that one most dangerous. When they don't get you, then that's phase 2, and you go, oh, I like the positive, but why aren't they getting this part? Why did they miss this aspect? Then, if people are disappointed in the direction you take, I wouldn't say that that's hard, because it's very amusing at first, because it's so parental, like, we're disappointed in you. It's just an odd feeling, because I didn't know we had that kind of relationship. The thing I found during the tour was this idea of, I'm not going to people-please as much in life. It's all great, and it's very liberating, but it's interesting to see when you stop people-pleasing, some people are not pleased. Like, not everyone will just applaud it. The Hollywood Reporter asked John Mulaney about his TV appearances, pointing out on Bupkis he plays basically John Mulaney, and Mulaney said, if you go through my work, most of my television is me playing myself on my friends' shows. The Hollywood Reporter followed that up with, it also seemed to fit into this repackaging of you, or at least of who the audience thought you were. If likability is jail, how conscious and freeing is showing this other side? Mulaney said, we'll see, because am I still doing the same thing? Am I trying to communicate, hey, there's a lot going on with me. Y'all get it now? Am I still looking for that? Of course I am. One of the other comedians on the panel is Amer. They asked him, if a fan approaches you on the street, how do they recognize you? And Mo said, I usually get, I'm a huge fan of your music. And I'm like, I'm not DJ Khaled. Mulaney turned to Mo and said, I don't know if you felt this with your first stand-up special, but you basically have from age 0 to 25 to ruminate on things and come up with a sensibility and figure out the jokes you like. So your first special is the first 20-odd years of your life, and your second special is 1 year. It was made while you were mainly touring. That musicians say that a lot, right? You get your whole life to make your first album and 6 months to make your second one. Mo said, it's a really great point. For me, I was always explaining myself. It was, wait, you were born in Kuwait, but you came to Texas when you were 9, so you're Kuwaiti? And I'm like, no, I'm not Kuwaiti. My parents are Palestinian. Wait, how come you're not Kuwaiti? You were born there. I don't get it. And I was like, I'm effing tired of these questions. So the whole first special is going to be answering all your questions. And then I just want to be a comedian. The Albuquerque Journal caught up with Carlos Mencia. I should see how young the writer is. I don't think they got the complete picture of Carlos Mencia's career, the Journal writes. He's known for his raw and unfiltered style of comedy, which he has showcased to great success on comedy stages and in television shows and movies. Yeah, I think he's known for two things. One being Mind of Mencia, the attempt by Comedy Central to keep doing the Chappelle thing after Chappelle kind of blew up there for a minute. And the second, the whole Joe Rogan, Carlos Mencia joke theft thing that Mencia has admitted to. I've been in a room with Mencia at SiriusXM where he admitted to it. Anyway, the Journal writes, Mencia recently shot 2 stand-up specials due out later this year, and apparently he's on a Disney Plus series, The Proud Family. Mencia says, I don't consider any of this work, especially right now. People need comedy the most. After big major events in the world, we need to be able to laugh through all the seriousness. It's time again for me to perform. I remember doing Mind of Mencia and talking about the impending great divide of the left and the right. If you go back and look at it, it's happening now. That's when I get excited with a sense of purpose beyond. There's this extra level of relevance. He says the past 10 years have been difficult and it feels like two different personas are merging together. Interesting, Carlos said. I have people who have seen me live and talking about the live shows. Then I have the internet who's been trying to cancel me since 2005. The two personas are coming together and I've been defending myself on social media. I needed to be heard and correct what's being said about me. So I don't know what's being said about Carlos Mencia on the internet these days, but here's a clip of Carlos Mencia talking about Carlos Mencia.
A lot of people out there are going to ask, why did they interview Carlos about this? Carlos is a joke thief. Carlos steals jokes, and we know this. And listen to me and look at me when I tell you this with all honesty. If you think that I steal jokes, yeah, you're right. Of course I steal jokes. Are you out of your mind? When I come to a comedy club, you better run. You better get off stage. Because if anything you say is even remotely funny, I'm going to make it mine. And all I'm going to do is say Mexican in the front.
I had to clip that down. He used a lot of salty language in there. Is he joking? Is he telling the truth? I don't know. What does Joe Rogan think? Anyway, let's not unpack that whole Rogan-Mencia thing today. Speaking of Joe Rogan, he said he saw Sam Kinison for the first time, was like, oh, that's comedy too? And that was like one of the first times I thought I could do comedy. I was like, maybe I got a wrong idea. I thought comedy was Seinfeld, Richard Pryor, polished, it's all done, and like, you can't do that. You don't know what you're doing. Rogan's inspirations, Kinison, Bill Hicks, Richard Pryor, all of them, Lenny Bruce. But I saw an open mic once and it gave me the confidence because I was like, oh, everybody sucks in the beginning because you see someone like an open mic night. First time I went, when I did my show, afterwards Teddy Bergeron did the set. So Teddy Bergeron went up and just like showed everybody how it's done. This cracked me up. The Sun, British tabloid, they were writing about Harry and Meghan. By the way, I'm the writer on a podcast called Palace Intrigue. We cover the British royal family every day. And by that, I mean, we pretty much talk about Harry and Meghan. Always play the hits in all formats. Play the hits. Meghan Markle, anything. Big downloads. But I laughed at this. They quoted Tim Dillon as Hollywood broadcaster Tim Dillon. And I'll read you what Tim Dillon said. I heard Tim Dillon's podcast. I think the Sun missed that Dillon was kind of doing a bit. Anyway, Tim Dillon did say, all I want to do is hang out with celebrities. I was at a party the other night talking to somebody about these people, and it's just constant with them. Meghan was texting the person I was with there. The point is, they just won't stop, these two. They're like low-grade reality stars trying to attach to anything. I'm literally at the party, and they're showing me texts of this woman begging people to hang out. She's trying to get places. It's sad. A lot of it isn't working. And they're rolling their eyes at me, LOL, and we're having a good laugh about this. I respect the hustle. I get what they're trying to do. I just read you the transcript. I heard Tim say the words. I think he was kind of joking. But anyway, that's Hollywood broadcaster Tim Dillon. New album out today from Rachel Mack. It's her debut comedy album, Teacher of the Year. She's a Wisconsin native. She started doing stand-up in LA and then moved back to Wisconsin to record this album. She jokes about her job as an English teacher, being a hopeful TILF. I assume that's a teacher I'd like to be friends with, and arming teachers, as well as a solution for solving teen pregnancy, revelations about her Christian upbringing, and the tedium of motherhood. Rachel Mack, Teacher of the Year. The remainder of today's podcast will be massive spoiler discussions for the finale of Ted Lasso. If you haven't seen it yet, why don't you hit pause, come back after you've seen Ted Lasso. But this will be the last topic of the day today. All right, are they gone? Let's talk Ted Lasso spoilers in 3, 2, 1. It was all right. Like everybody else, I started watching Ted Lasso during the pandemic, and it hit the spot during the pandemic. It was like, oh, this is just bright and fun. And it became one of those shows I watched with my wife, and we liked it together. And we just liked it. It was just happy, and it was about soccer, and it was light and flighty. And like most people, season 3, we were like, what is even going on? The show started to fall apart when Nate went evil. And then towards the end of season 3, suddenly Nate's not evil anymore, and he quits his job because he loves the girlfriend. He loves the girlfriend so much, she's not even in the season finale or series finale. We're still unsure if there's going to be spinoffs or whatever. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Nate loves this woman so much, and then she doesn't even pop up in the last episode. Weird decision by the creators. The Guardian wrote, "Good riddance, Ted Lasso, how the nice comedy became utterly dreadful television." My wife and I, we decided we were kind of behind. She hadn't seen the second to last episode, and I hadn't seen the last two. And I'm like, let's just skip to the finale because none of it matters anyway, and we're going to get spoiled on the internet. So, yeah, I haven't actually seen every episode. I haven't seen the second to last one. The Guardian says, "Rubbish jokes, inept plotting, a weak script. Should we go on? Characters veered into incongruous demonstrations of whimsy or cruelty or wit, none of which rang true to their personalities, but served whatever the script needed. Conflict, typically a driver of plot, went out the window. We got episodes dedicated to solving bad fathers, homophobia, and racism, while genuine plot developments happened off screen, such as Nate quitting his job at West Ham so he could wind up back at Richmond. Or the revelation that Ted's folksy charms are not an inherent quality, but a learned defense mechanism, and that was abandoned as quickly as his therapist was written out of the show. And yet we saw the therapist like 9 times during the finale watching the soccer game. Why?" Rolling Stone had a review that was on point. "Ted Lasso Season 3 finale, the end of a frustrating bad season." They write, "Without Ted, and by extension the team he coached, as an organizing principle, Season 3 felt more and more unfocused with each week." I agree. Big ideas were introduced and then dropped. Huge moments took place entirely off camera. Characterization was all over the map. "The worst offender was the storyline about Nate." Yep. Rather than show him gradually recognizing what an abusive person he'd become, how terribly he'd betrayed Ted, the show seemed to view his redemption as a matter of Nate learning to love himself, and the writer's method of doing it was with a bizarre love story involving Jade, the hostess at Nate's favorite restaurant, who had no personality and no apparent reason for wanting to go out with Nate other than taking pity on him after another one was mean to him in front of Jade. Nor were we given any reason why Nate was so hung up on Jade, given how repeatedly cold she was prior to him to that moment. So it's a bit of a mess. Will there be spin-offs? I think they gave us a major hint. It's in a scene where Ted Lasso is talking to Trent Crimm, who is fantastic this season. Trent was really good. Trent is showing him the book, which I think was called The Lasso Way, and Ted said, "I'd change the title. It's not about me. It never was." So we'll see if we get Ted Lasso-less Season 4. I hope they do. I like a lot of the characters, even though this season was a mess. And there's plenty of things to be done without Ted on the series. Anyway, that is your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, wherever you get your shows, and I'll see you tomorrow.